I had this realization about hearing God that completely changed everything for me, and it has to do with GPS. This is a familiar sight for you and for me. We rely on our phones to tell us where to go. You might have caught that Office episode where Michael Scott goes into the river following the phone. You might not do that, but we trust these things, right? If you are wanting to hear God speak to you, to get a sense of what God's leading you to do in your life, you're going to come up against this question: what if I hear God wrong? And that's a really good question, actually. You will hear God wrong. And that's enough for many people to bail on the whole idea of hearing God at all, even trying to hear God. But I've got a real simple solution here, and it's just a small shift in your thinking. It's actually not a problem at all to hear God wrong. I want to show you why. Let's go to my car. When you're following GPS, it's smarter than you think. It knows where you're going. It knows when you make a wrong turn. And here's the thing, so long as you keep listening, it'll fix any mistakes you make, right? You make a wrong turn, and you're gonna hear this thing telling you what to do. And what are the consequences? What happens when you make a mistake? Well, sometimes you lose a little bit of time. Other times you have to turn around. But if you actually follow what it's telling you to do, and you keep listening, you don't like turn the volume off and turn your music on. If you keep listening to this thing, it's gonna get you where you need to go. How many times have you put in a place you've never been, maybe even hours away, and if you just do what it says, you're gonna pull up, it's gonna say you're at your destination, you're gonna get out of your car and you're gonna be like, I'm here, I'm right where I wanted to be. The difference is God knows where you're going, you don't always know. So the alternative to this, the alternative to listening to God, to hearing God, that so many people stick with, that they believe, they trust over hearing God, is they just kind of look around out the window of their car and they say, which direction do I think I should go? Maybe they don't even know where they're going, or maybe they have a vague sense of where they're going. God's given them some sense of it, and they're like, how do I get there? Let me just try. And here's the crazy thing. If you aren't listening to God, you don't know for sure if you're on the right path or the wrong path. You don't know for sure if where you're headed is right. You could be headed the right direction and not realize it. You could be headed the wrong direction and not realize it. This is the anxiety that plagues us. This is well, I have to figure all this out and get all this right. God's not asking that of you. He's not asking that of me. He actually wants to lead us. Proverbs 3:6, in all your ways, acknowledge him and he will direct your steps. He will make your path straight. He wants to lead you, but you have to follow. You have to say yes. If you aren't acknowledging him in all your ways, then he can't tell you which way to go. He might be ready, wanting to tell you which way to go, but if you're not letting him direct you, then he can't tell you which way to go. You're therefore then trusting your own understanding instead of allowing him to lead. So the underlying truth here behind what I'm saying is hearing God and trusting God are two different things. And if you are trusting yourself, then you have to make sure you're hearing God right. You can't make any mistakes because it's on you. If you aren't listening to God. So you could be, for example, hearing God and not trusting him. If you're trusting yourself, if you're just listening to God, but you're not trusting God, then he's just another voice. You've already got all these insights and thoughts in your head. You're trying to figure out how do you put them all together, and it's up to you to make the call. You're trusting you in the end. And God's voice is just could be helpful. If it makes sense to you, then you track with it. But here's the flip side of this. We could also trust God, and then when we go to hear him, we get it wrong, but we keep listening and he can fix it. He can guide us the right direction. We might even at first, when we first start listening to this voice, we might get it wrong a lot. But if we trust him, we believe that he can turn us around. Sometimes even when you're getting started with the GPS unit, you saw this earlier, it's just swirling around in circles. Like it doesn't know which way to go. I got to get moving. I've got to start obeying, and I got to allow this to work. Otherwise, like if I just sat here in my car and thought, should I trust this GPS unit? Should I trust it? I'm just going to sit here and maybe I won't actually trust it because it seems sort of lost. I won't realize that it does work really well until I start moving, until I take a turn. And you know what? If you've ever done this, sometimes you make that first turn wrong because it's not oriented correctly. The GPS unit still works. We just have to kind of give it a chance and figure out how to follow it, right? It doesn't mean the GPS system is broken. Here's where we go really wrong. And this is where hearing God can get you in trouble if you're not trusting God. We can hear God wrong and then stop listening because we don't think it's him, or we do think it's him and we start doing that thing that we felt like he said, but we stop listening and we no longer have him able to direct us. Maybe we got the first turn right and then we just kept going, or we turned wherever we felt like I got this. The first turn's not enough. You got to follow him through all of the turns. It's a detailed process with him. We can't just get a general overview of where we're headed and figure it out on our own. And we can't just listen for the first turn and then stop listening. God wants relationship. He's like this GPS system. It can take every turn. It has way more information. It knows where we're going. It knows all the turns that are getting there. And you know what? God might even be taking you on a detour somewhere to get gas or somewhere to pick someone up or do something. So the question really comes down to, are you trusting him? And do you believe that he can lead you? Do you believe that he can guide you? And from there, you do need to learn how to hear his voice. You do need to learn how to have a mind that can test and approve what God's will is. If you want to learn more about that, click this video. See you in the next one.